I did not return the mafia boss's wallet because I am a good person. I returned it because I needed a hitman, and the price of admission to the devil's world was exactly $50,000. 10 hours earlier. The rain in Seoul does not wash things clean. It just makes the grime slicker. It makes the neon lights of Gangnam reflect on the pavement like oil spills, pretty colors hiding the rot underneath. My name is Nia, and until tonight I was invisible. I was part of the background scenery, just another foreigner trying to survive in a city that moves too fast. I wiped tables at the Blue Note, a jazz fusion bar that smelled of expensive whiskey and stale cigarette smoke. I was furniture. I was a ghost. But ghosts do not bleed. And ghosts definitely do not feel the throbbing ache in their left wrist where the bone is bruised deep. It was 2 in the morning when my manager, Mr. Park, kicked open the back door. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the alleyway. He pointed a manicured finger at the overflowing bins and barked, "Trash. Take it out. Then you go. If you are late again tomorrow, do not come back." I did not argue. I could not afford to argue. I just nodded, grabbing the heavy black bags. The plastic cut into my fingers. I stepped out into the alley. The cold hit me instantly, soaking through my thin uniform. My apron was stained with coffee and sauce, a map of my 12-hour shift. My shoes squished against the wet pavement. I needed new shoes. The sole of my right sneaker had come loose 3 weeks ago, and now every step was a wet, cold reminder of what I did not have. I dragged the bags to the dumpster, heaving them up. My wrist screamed in protest. A sharp hot line of pain shot up my arm. I gasped, dropping the bag. It burst open. Coffee grounds. Lemon rinds. Wet napkins. And something else. Something that did not belong in the trash. It was sitting on top of a pile of garbage, untouched by the filth around it. A wallet. But not just a wallet. Even in the dim, flickering light of the street lamp, I could tell this was different. It was matte black leather. Crocodile skin. The kind of leather that feels warm to the touch. It looked heavy. I shouldn't have touched it. My grandmother used to tell me, trouble doesn't always look like trouble, Nia. Sometimes it looks like a gift. I should have walked away. I should have gone home to the tiny moldy apartment where Marcus was waiting. But I was tired. I was so tired. I reached down. The leather was dry despite the rain. Picked it up. It felt solid. Dense. I opened it. And I stopped breathing. I did not see IDs or credit cards at first. I saw blue. The distinct, beautiful blue of the new South Korean 50,001 notes. And green. Crisp American $100 bills. Stacks. Thick, tightly bound stacks. My heart hammered against my ribs, like a frantic bird trapped in a cage. I looked left. The alley was empty. I looked right. Just a stray cat watching me from a fire escape. I counted it with trembling fingers. 1,000. 5,000. 10. 20. $50,000. Maybe more. I slumped against the brick wall. The wet cold seeped into my back, but I did not feel it. The world narrowed down to the object in my hands. Do you know what $50,000 looks like to a woman drowning? It looks like oxygen. It looks like my brother's surgery in Atlanta. It looks like a plane ticket. It looks like a divorce lawyer. It looks like a door opening in a room that has been locked from the outside for 3 years. I closed my eyes. I could take it. I could shove it in my apron. I could walk out of this alley, go to the airport, and never look back. Marcus would never know. Mr. Park would never know. I could be free. A tear leaked out, hot against my cold cheek. God, I wanted to keep it. My thumb brushed against the inside pocket of the wallet. It slid over a hard piece of plastic. An ID card. I opened my eyes and looked down. The face on the ID was sharp. High cheekbones that looked like they could cut glass. Eyes that were dark, bored, and utterly terrifying even in a photograph. I read the name. Junho. The air left my lungs. I did not just find a wallet. I found a death sentence. Everyone in the district knew that name. They didn't call him a gangster. That word was too small. They called him the Viper. He owned the clubs. He owned the police. He owned the shadows. If I took this money, he would find me. It would not matter where I went. A man like Kang Junho does not lose $50,000 and shrug. He hunts. I looked at the money again. The freedom. Then I looked at the ID. The death. My phone buzzed in my pocket. The vibration made me jump, nearly dropping the wallet into a puddle. I pulled it out. New message from Marcus. It read, "Where are you? Dinner is cold. Don't make me come find you." I stared at the screen. The fear of the Viper was abstract, a monster in a story. The fear of Marcus was real. It was waiting for me at home. It was the reason my wrist was taped up. If I went home with nothing, the cycle continued. If I kept the money, the Viper would kill me. But then, a third thought. A dangerous, insane thought. I looked at the ID again. Kang Joon-ho. They said he was a monster. But monsters have power. And right now, holding his property, I had something he wanted. I didn't have leverage. I had an introduction. I shoved the wallet deep into my apron pocket, right next to the overdue electric bill. I wiped my face with my sleeve. I was not going home to Marcus. Not tonight. I turned around and walked out of the alley. I didn't walk toward the subway. I walked toward the skyline, toward the gleaming black tower known as Club Eden. The Viper's Nest. Club Eden wasn't just a building. It was a fortress of glass and steel. The line out front was long. Beautiful people shivering in tiny dresses, hoping to get past the velvet rope. I walked past them. I felt their eyes on me. Judgment. I heard someone whisper, "Look at her. Is she the cleaning lady?" Another voice laughed. "She looks like she slept in a dumpster." I kept my head high. My heart was beating so hard I thought it would crack my ribs, but I forced my face to be stone. I reached the front of the line. The bouncer was massive, a wall of muscle in a suit that cost more than my life. He looked down at me, his lip curling in disgust. "Delivery entrances around the back," he grumbled, moving to block me. "I am not a delivery girl," I said. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Hoarse but steady. "Then you are lost. Get lost." He reached out to shove me. "I have something for Kang Joon-ho," I said. The name was magic. The air around us seemed to freeze. The people in line stopped whispering. The bouncer's hand stopped inches from my shoulder. He stared at me, searching for a lie. "You think you can just say his name? Do you have a death wish, girl?" "I have his wallet. I didn't show it. I just said it." The bouncer blinked. "What?" "I found it. I am returning it." I paused, looking him dead in the eye. "Unless you want to tell him that you turned away the person holding his personal property? I wonder what he would do to you if he found out." It was a bluff. A massive, terrifying bluff. My knees were shaking so hard I had to lock them to stay standing. The bouncer hesitated. He tapped his earpiece. He turned away, whispering something urgent. A moment later he turned back. He looked pale. "Follow me. Do not touch anything. Do not look at anyone." The velvet rope unhooked. I walked in. If the outside was cold reality, the inside of Club Eden was a fever dream. The bass didn't just play. It vibrated through the floor, traveling up my legs and settling in my chest. Thump, 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 like a giant heartbeat. The air smelled of jasmine, expensive cologne, and danger. The bouncer led me past the dance floor, past the VIP booths where minor celebrities popped champagne, and toward a private elevator in the back. He pressed the button for the penthouse. The doors closed, shutting out the noise. The silence in the elevator was worse. It was heavy. I caught my reflection in the polished brass doors. I looked like a wreck. My hair was frizzy from the rain. My apron was stained. My eyes looked haunted. "What are you doing, Nia?" I asked myself. "Turn back. Give it to the bouncer and run." But I touched my wrist again. I remembered Marcus's text. "Don't make me come find you." No. I was done running. The elevator dinged. The doors slid open. The penthouse wasn't a club. It was a throne room. The lighting was dim amber and red. One wall was entirely glass, overlooking the Seoul skyline. In the center of the room sat a long, low sofa made of dark velvet. There were 6 men in the room. 5 of them were standing, wearing suits, hands hovering near their jackets. Guns. And 1 man was sitting. Kang Joon-ho. He looked exactly like his ID but worse. The photo didn't capture the stillness of him. He wasn't moving. He was holding a glass of amber liquid, staring at the liquid as if it held the secrets of the universe. He didn't look up when I walked in. "Boss," the bouncer said, his voice trembling. "This is the girl." Joon-ho took a sip of his drink. Leave us. But boss. I said leave. The command was soft, barely a whisper. But the bouncer and the 5 guards moved instantly. They retreated to the shadows near the elevator, leaving me standing alone in the center of the room. I was 20 feet away from the most dangerous man in the city. Junho finally looked up. His eyes were black voids. They swept over me, analyzing every inch. He saw the wet sneakers. He saw the stained apron. He saw the trembling hands. You have 5 seconds, he said. His voice was smooth, deep like gravel wrapped in silk. Before I decide to throw you off this balcony. I didn't speak. I couldn't. I reached into my dirty apron. The guards in the back flinched, hands going to their holsters. They thought I was reaching for a weapon. I pulled out the black crocodile wallet. I stepped forward. 1 step. 2 steps. I placed it gently on the glass coffee table in front of him. The heavy leather hit the glass with a sharp thud. You dropped this, I whispered. Behind the jazz bar. In the trash. Junho looked at the wallet. Then he looked at me. He didn't check it. He didn't open it to count the money. He just stared at me with a look of genuine confusion. You went through my trash? He asked. I was taking out the garbage. Fell out of a bag. He set his drink down. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Do you know how much is in there? Yes. Did you count it? Yes. And? $50,000. Roughly. He let out a short, dry laugh. It wasn't a happy sound. $50,000. And you? He gestured vaguely at my stained uniform. You look like you need $50, let alone $50,000. I do, I said honestly. I need it very much. Then why is it on my table? This was it. The moment of truth. I stood up straighter. I channeled every ounce of dignity I had left. Because I am not a thief, Mr. Kong. He stared at me for a long time. The silence stretched thin and tight as a wire. Then he moved. Fast. He stood up and crossed the distance between us in 2 strides. He towered over me. I could smell him. Sandalwood and gunpowder. He reached out. I flinched, expecting a strike. But he didn't hit me. He reached past me and picked up the wallet. He pulled out a single stack of $100 bills. $10,000. He held it out to me. Take it, he said. I looked at the money. It was more than I made in 6 months. Take it, he repeated. A reward. For your honesty. My hand twitched. I wanted to take it. God, I wanted to take it. I could go to a hotel tonight. I could eat a real meal. But then I remembered the text message. Don't make me come find you. $10,000 wouldn't stop Marcus. It would just make him angry. He would find the money, take it, and beat me for hiding it. Money was temporary. I needed something permanent. I looked up into Kong Junho's eyes. And I pushed his hand away. The guards in the corner gasped. No one touched the viper. No one refused the viper. Junho froze. His eyes widened slightly. For the first time he looked surprised. No, I said. He lowered his hand slowly. No, I don't want your money. He tossed the stack of cash onto the table casually like it was a napkin. Everyone wants money. Don't lie to me. It insults my intelligence. I am not lying, I said. My voice was gaining strength. Money runs out. If I take that cash, I walk out of here and in a month it's gone. And I am back in the alley taking out trash. So you are greedy, he mused. You want more? I don't want more money, I said. I want a trade. Junho tilted his head. He looked like a scientist examining a new species of bug. A trade. You found my wallet. You think that entitles you to negotiate with me? I returned your property. Intact. I could have walked away. I could be halfway to Busan by now. But I am here. I showed you respect. I took a deep breath. I want a favor. He laughed again. This time it was menacing. He turned his back on me, walking toward the window. A favor, he echoed to the glass. People beg me for favors every day. Politicians. Thieves. Gangsters. They offer me land, stocks, loyalty. And you? The girl with the taped-up shoes. You think you can buy a favor with a returned wallet? He turned back around, his face cold. Give me one reason why I shouldn't have my men throw you out right now. Because I said, my voice shaking but loud. Because you are surrounded by snakes. He paused. I saw your guards, I said, pointing to the men in the shadows. When I walked in, they were terrified. They aren't loyal to you. They're afraid of you. There is a difference. I pointed to the wallet. I am a nobody. I have nothing. I am starving. And yet, I held your life in my hands and I gave it back. Not out of fear, but because I chose to. I stepped closer to him. You can buy muscle. You can buy silence. But you can't buy what I just did. That wasn't a transaction, Mr. Kong. That was character. And in your world, isn't that the rarest thing of all? Junho stared at me. The room was deadly silent. I could hear the rain hitting the glass window. He looked at the wallet. Then he looked at his guards. Then he looked back at me. A slow, terrifying smile spread across his face. It didn't reach his eyes. Smart, he whispered. Dangerous, but smart. He walked back to the sofa and sat down, crossing his legs. He gestured to the empty spot in front of him. Fine, he said. You have my attention. You have 30 seconds. What is the favor? You want a job? You want me to clear your family's debt? Speak. This was it. The point of no return. My heart slowed down. The fear vanished, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. I thought of Marcus. I thought of the way he smiled when he locked the door. I thought of the sound his fist made when it hit my ribs. I thought of my brother calling me crying because Marcus had threatened him too. I wasn't asking for money. I was asking for salvation. I reached up and unbuttoned the cuff of my uniform. Junho watched, curious. I rolled up the sleeve. The bruise was ugly. Purple, black, and yellow wrapping around my wrist like a shackle. The shape of a hand. A man's hand. Junho's eyes dropped to the bruise. His expression didn't change, but the air in the room got colder. My husband, I said. His name is Marcus. I looked up at the viper. He waits for me at home. He takes my money. He breaks my bones. He threatens my brother. I took a step forward, invading his personal space. I returned your life, Mr. Kong. I gave you back your power. I leaned in, whispering the words that would damn my soul forever. Now, I want you to kill him. Junho looked at the bruise. Then he looked at the money on the table. He picked up his glass of whiskey. He swirled it. You realize, he said softly, that once you ask for this, you belong to me. You never leave my world. You become part of the darkness. I've been living in darkness for 3 years, I replied. At least in yours I might survive. Junho drank the whiskey in one shot. He slammed the glass down. He looked at the head of security. Find him. Find him. Those 2 words hung in the air long after Kong Junho spoke them. They were not shouted. They were not angry. They were final. Like a judge snapping a gavel. The head of security, a man with a scar running through his eyebrow, nodded once. He did not ask for a name. He did not ask for a picture. He tapped his earpiece, turned on his heel, and vanished into the elevator. The doors slid shut with a soft hiss. Now it was just the 2 of us. The devil. And the woman who had just sold her soul to him. Junho poured himself another drink. The amber liquid swirled in the crystal glass, catching the dim light of the penthouse. He did not look at me. He walked to the massive window, staring out at the rain-soaked city of Seoul. Get up, he said. I was still kneeling on the floor, the cold glass of the coffee table pressing against my legs. My knees were numb. I tried to stand, but my legs wobbled. Adrenaline was fading, leaving behind a cold, shaking exhaustion. I gripped the edge of the sofa to pull myself up. I winced. My wrist. The bruise Marcus had left was throbbing in time with my heartbeat. Junho saw the wince. He saw everything. He turned around, leaning against the glass. He took a sip of his whiskey. You are shaking, he observed. I am cold, I lied. You are terrified. He walked toward me slowly. The sound of his dress shoes on the marble floor was rhythmic, deliberate. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough for me to smell the expensive tobacco smoke clinging to his suit. You just ordered a man's death, Nia, he said, using my name for the first time. It sounded strange in his mouth. Heavy. You should be terrified. If you weren't shaking, I would have put a bullet in you myself. Why? I whispered. Because only psychopaths are calm when they cross the line. And I do not do business with psychopaths. They are unpredictable. He gestured to the hallway on the far right of the room. Second door on the left. There is a shower. There are clothes. Clean yourself up. You smell like garbage and fear. I looked down at my uniform. The coffee stains. The trash juice. He was right. I will wait here. I asked. He laughed. A short dark sound. Where else would you go? You have no home anymore. Marcus is a dead man walking. If you go back there, you are an accessory. If you run, you are a loose end. He sat back down on the velvet sofa and picked up a tablet, scrolling through it as if he hadn't just ordered a murder. Go. Wash the alley off your skin. We have a long night ahead of us. I walked down the hallway. My legs felt heavy like I was wading through water. I opened the second door on the left. It wasn't a bathroom. It was a spa. The walls were black slate. The tub was carved from a single piece of gray stone. There were bottles of oil and soap that looked like they cost more than my monthly rent. I locked the door. My hands were shaking so bad it took me 3 tries to slide the bolt. I stripped off the dirty uniform. I threw the apron in the corner. I peeled off the wet socks. I stepped into the shower. I turned the water to hot. Scalding hot. The water hit me and I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the floor, hugging my knees. I cried. I didn't sob. I didn't scream. I just let the tears mix with the water. I washed the smell of the alley out of my hair. I scrubbed my skin until it was red. I had done it. I had really done it. Marcus was going to die. I thought about the last time I saw him. He was throwing a plate of spaghetti against the wall because I forgot to buy beer. He had grabbed my hair. He had twisted my arm until something popped. You're useless, Nia. You're nothing without me. I looked at the bruise on my wrist under the bright shower light. It was ugly. I scrubbed it hard as if I could wash the memory away. When I finally turned off the water, the silence in the room was deafening. I dried off with a towel that was softer than anything I had ever touched. I looked for the clothes Junho had mentioned. Hanging on the back of the door was a silk robe. Black. Men's size. I put it on. It swallowed me. The sleeves hung past my hands. Smelled like him. Sandalwood. I unlocked the door and walked back out into the penthouse. Junho was still on the sofa. But the room had changed. The lights were lower. And on the coffee table, next to the wallet and the money, was a gun. A sleek silver pistol. He didn't look up. Sit, he said. I sat on the opposite end of the sofa, tucking my legs under me. He poured a glass of water and slid it across the table. I drank it in one gulp. My throat was dry as dust. How long? I asked. He checked his watch. A platinum Rolex. My men are efficient. Seoul is a big city, but rats tend to hide in the same holes. They will find him within the hour. And then? He looked at me. And then the debt is paid. And a new one begins. My stomach twisted. A new debt? What do you mean? You returned $50,000, he said. That buys you a service. It buys you a hit. But it does not buy you freedom. He picked up the gun. He ejected the magazine, checked the bullets and slid it back in with a metallic click. You asked me to kill your husband. That makes us partners in a conspiracy to commit murder. In the eyes of the law, we are tied together now. He pointed the gun at the window, aiming at the moon. You are an accomplice, Nia. You don't get to walk away. Not yet. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed on the table. He put the gun down. He picked up the phone. He listened. His face didn't change. Not a muscle twitched. Bring him to the warehouse, he said. No, not the basement. The roof. He hung up. He stood up and buttoned his suit jacket. They found him. I felt the blood drain from my face. Is he dead? No, Junho said calmly. Not yet. I thought you might want to say goodbye. He walked to the elevator and held the door open. He waited. I didn't move. I can't, I whispered. Junho's eyes went cold. You started this, Nia. You walked into my club. You put the money on the table. You asked for blood. He stepped out of the elevator and walked back to me. He leaned down, his face inches from mine. Do not be a coward now. If you want him dead, you need to watch him die. You need to know what you bought. He held out his hand. Come. I looked at his hand. It was steady. It was a hand that had ended lives. I looked at my own hand. The one Marcus had crushed. I took Junho's hand. His grip was iron. He pulled me up. We walked into the elevator. We descended into the darkness. The car ride was silent. We were in the back of a black Mercedes SUV with tinted windows. The leather seats were cold. The rain drummed against the roof, a frantic rhythm that matched my pulse. Junho sat next to me, scrolling on his phone, answering emails. It was terrifyingly mundane. We were on our way to an execution and he was checking stock prices. We drove for 20 minutes, leaving the bright lights of Gangnam behind. We entered the industrial district. The buildings here were old, skeletal structures of concrete and rusted metal. Shadows were longer here. The car stopped in front of an abandoned textile factory. The driver opened the door. "Wait here," Junho told the driver. We walked into the building. It smelled of wet concrete and old oil. We took a freight elevator up. It rattled and shook as it climbed. Every clank sounded like a bone breaking. When the doors opened, the wind hit us. We were on the roof. The rain was heavier here, whipping sideways in the wind. In the center of the roof, under the glare of 2 portable floodlights, was a chair. And tied to the chair was Marcus. He looked small. That was my first thought. He always seemed so big in our apartment. He filled the room with his anger. But here, bound with zip ties, soaked in rain, surrounded by 3 of Junho's massive guards, he looked pathetic. He had a piece of duct tape over his mouth. His eyes were wide, darting around like a trapped animal. He saw Junho first. He started making muffled noises, struggling against the ties. Then he saw me. He froze. I stepped out of the shadows. I was still wearing the silk robe, my hair wet and plastered to my skull. I must have looked like a vengeful spirit. Junho walked over to him. He signaled to the guard. "Rip it off." The guard ripped the tape off Marcus's mouth. Marcus gasped, sucking in air. "Nia!" he screamed. "Nia, what the hell is this? Who are these people? Tell them. Tell them who I am." He was pleading. The anger was gone, replaced by a whining desperation. Junho lit a cigarette. He shielded the flame from the wind with his hand. He took a drag, the cherry glowing bright red in the darkness. "He knows who you are," Marcus, Junho said calmly. "I know everything. I know about the gambling debts in Itaewon. I know about the loan sharks you ran from in Atlanta. And I know about the wrist." Junho pointed at me with the cigarette. "Show him." I stepped forward. The wind whipped the robe around my legs. I held up my arm. Marcus looked at the bruise. "Nia, baby, listen," he stammered. "I didn't mean it. You know I get stressed. I was going to make it up to you. I bought you flowers, remember? Last month?" He was lying. He never bought flowers. "You broke my arm 3 years ago," I said. My voice was quiet, lost in the wind. "What?" Marcus yelled over the rain. "You broke my arm 3 years ago." I screamed. "You threw me down the stairs because I burned the rice." Marcus flinched. "I forgave you," I said, tears mixing with the rain. "I forgave you when you stole my paycheck. I forgave you when you isolated me from my family. I forgave you every single day because I thought I had no choice." I looked at Junho. But today I found a choice. Marcus looked at Junho. He looked at the guards. The reality of the situation finally hit him. "Wait," he said, his voice cracking. "Wait. You can't do this. Nia, you can't do this. I'm your husband." "Not anymore," I said. Junho finished his cigarette. He dropped it on the wet concrete and crushed it with his heel. He pulled the silver gun from his jacket. He didn't aim it at Marcus. He held it out to me. I stared at the gun. "Finish it," Junho said. I looked at him, shocked. "What? You want your freedom? Take it." I can't. I hired you. That was the deal. The deal was for him to die," Junho said. He stepped closer, pressing the gun handle into my hand. His fingers were warm over my cold ones. "If I kill him, he is just another name on a list. Another job. But if you kill him, you take back your life. You kill the fear." My hand closed around the grip. It was heavy. Heavier than the wallet. I turned toward Marcus. "Nia, please." Marcus was crying now. Snot running down his face. "Please, baby. I love you. I swear to God I love you." He was pathetic. He was a worm. I raised the gun. My arm shook. I aimed at his chest. I remembered the sound of the bone cracking. I remembered the nights I slept in the bathtub with the door locked. I tightened my finger on the trigger. "Do it." Marcus screamed. "You don't have the guts. You're nothing without me. That was it. The spark. I squeezed my eyes shut. I pulled the trigger. Click. Nothing happened. I opened my eyes. Pulled it again. Click. I looked at Junho. He was smiling. It is empty, he said softly. He took the gun from my shaking hands. I just wanted to see if you could do it. He turned to Marcus. She has the guts, he said to my husband. Junho signaled the guard. Throw him off. What? Marcus shrieked. No, no. The two guards grabbed the chair. They lifted Marcus up, chair and all. He screamed. A high, thin sound that didn't sound human. They walked to the edge of the roof. There was no railing. Just a drop. 6 stories down to the concrete alley. Naya. They tossed him. He disappeared into the dark rain. For a second there was just the sound of the wind. Then, crunch. It wasn't a loud sound. It was wet. Final. I fell to my knees. I vomited. Bile and water splashing onto the roof. I gasped for air, clutching my chest. He was gone. The monster was gone. Junho stood over me. He didn't offer a hand. He didn't offer comfort. He just stood there, a dark statue in the rain. It is done, he said. He turned and walked back toward the elevator. Get up, Nia. The night is not over. I don't remember the ride back. I was in a fugue state. I stared out the window, watching the city blur by. Marcus was dead. I kept waiting to feel guilty. I kept waiting for the grief to hit me. But it didn't come. Instead, I felt light. The crushing weight on my chest was gone. The fear of going home was gone. But as the car pulled back up to the towering glass fortress of Club Eden, a new fear began to settle in. The car stopped. The driver opened the door. Junho got out. He waited for me. We went back up to the penthouse. The guards were gone. The room was quiet. The whiskey glass was exactly where he had left it. I stood in the middle of the room, shivering in the damp silk robe. So I said. My voice was raspy. It is over. Junho walked to the bar. He poured 2 glasses this time. He walked over and handed one to me. Drink. I took it. I drank. The whiskey burned, warming my frozen blood. It is over, he agreed. Marcus is gone. My men will handle the cleanup. It will look like a mugging gone wrong. Or a drunk fall. The police won't investigate deep. Nobody cares about a foreigner with gambling debts falling off a roof in the industrial district. He sat down on the sofa and crossed his legs. He looked relaxed. Like he had just come back from the opera, not a murder. So, I can go? I asked. Junho looked at me over the rim of his glass. He raised an eyebrow. Go? Go where, Nia? I don't know. Atlanta? I have my brother. The brother. The one with the medical bills. He tapped the screen of his tablet. I looked into your finances while you were showering. My blood ran cold. You have $4,000 in credit card debt. Your bank account is overdrawn by $300. Your brother's surgery is scheduled for next month, and you have paid 0% of the deposit. He put the tablet down. You have no money. You have no passport. Marcus burned it last year, didn't he? I stared at him. How did he know? I know everything, Nia. That is my business. He stood up and walked toward me. If you walk out that door, you are homeless. You are a suspect in a missing persons case. And you are vulnerable. Marcus had friends. Bad friends. When they realize he is dead, they will come looking for his wife. They will think you have his money. I gripped the glass tighter. So what do you want? I asked. I told you, he said softly. I want a return on my investment. He reached out and touched a lock of my wet hair. His fingers were gentle, but his eyes were predatory. I spent $50,000 tonight. Technically, I spent more. The cleanup crew costs money. My time costs money. He dropped his hand. You owe me, Nia. And I always collect. My heart started hammering again. I don't have money, I said. I don't want money. I have plenty of money. Then what? I want you. The words hung in the air. I took a step back. You want me? Like a mistress? Junho laughed. It was a genuine laugh this time, loud and sharp. No. God, no. I can buy sex. I don't need to manipulate widows for it. He walked around me, circling me like a shark. I saw something in you tonight. In the alley. In this room. On the roof. He stopped behind me. He whispered in my ear. You pulled the trigger. I froze. The gun was empty, I whispered. But you didn't know that. You thought it was loaded. You aimed at a human being and you pulled the trigger. You have darkness in you, Nia. Real darkness. Most people panic. Most people break. You? You focused. He walked back around to face me. I need people like that. People who are desperate enough to do anything, and smart enough to keep their mouth shut. He gestured to the room. I am offering you a job. A job? I asked, confused. Waitressing. He smirked. No, not waitressing. He walked to the coffee table and picked up the black wallet, the one that started it all. He tossed it to me. Caught it. Keep it, he said. I opened it. The money was still there. All of it. That is your signing bonus, he said. $50,000. I looked at the cash. Then I looked at him. What is the job? I asked. He smiled. A wolf's smile. I have enemies, Nia. People who want to take what is mine. They see me coming. They know my face. They know my guards. He stepped closer. But nobody sees you. You said it yourself. You are invisible. You are the cleaning lady. The waitress. The foreigner. You can walk into rooms I can't. You can hear things I can't. He extended his hand. I don't want a mistress. I want a spy. I stared at his hand. If I say no, the door is open, he said, pointing to the elevator. You can leave. Take the money. Go to Atlanta. But if Marcus's loan sharks find you, do not call me. I looked at the elevator. The freedom. Then I looked at the wallet. The power. Then I looked at him. The devil. I had been invisible my whole life. Trampled on. Beaten. Tonight, for the first time, I felt powerful. I felt fear, yes. But I also felt alive. I looked at the bruise on my wrist. It was already fading. I looked Junho in the eye. I took his hand. When do I start? Junho's grip tightened. Right now. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Send the stylist up. And the doctor. We need to fix her face. She has a gala to attend tomorrow. He hung up and looked at me. Go sleep, Nia. Tomorrow the waitress dies. And the viper's shadow is born. I woke up in a bed that felt like a cloud. For a second I panicked. I didn't recognize the ceiling. It was high, painted with abstract gray swirls. Then the memories crashed into me. The rain. The wallet. The gun. The scream. Naya. I sat up gasping. I was in a bedroom I had never seen. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the city. The sun was shining. It looked like a normal day. But nothing was normal anymore. I looked at my hands. They were clean. No blood. No grime. I looked at the bedside table. There was a tray of food. Coffee, fruit, toast. And a note. The note was written on heavy cream-colored cardstock. The handwriting was sharp, jagged. Eat. The team will be there at 10 a.m. Do not disappoint me. J. I ate. I was starving. I ate like I hadn't seen food in a week. At exactly 10 a.m. the door opened. I expected guards. Instead, 3 women walked in. They were dressed in all black, moving with military precision. One carried a garment bag. One carried a makeup case. One carried a medical kit. Mrs. Nia? The first woman said. She had severe glasses and a clipboard. Ms. Nia, I corrected automatically. Not anymore, she said briskly. Mr. Kong has created a new identity for you. You are Nia Davis. A wealthy investor from Chicago. You are in Seoul looking for art. She snapped her fingers. Sit. We have work to do. The next 4 hours were torture. They waxed. They plucked. They scrubbed. The doctor examined my wrist. She gave me a shot that numbed the pain instantly. She gave me creams for the bruises on my face. They cut my hair. Gone was the frizzy, tired mess. They straightened it, cut it into a sharp, angular bob that framed my jawline. They did my makeup. Sharp eyeliner. Dark red lips. Then the clothes. They put me in a dress. It was black silk, high-necked, backless. It hugged every curve I didn't know I had. They gave me heels. Not taped-up sneakers. 4-inch stilettos with red soles. When they were done, they turned me toward the mirror. I gasped. The woman in the mirror wasn't Nia the waitress. She wasn't Marcus's punching bag. She looked dangerous. She looked expensive. She looked like she belonged to the Viper. The door opened. Junho walked in. He stopped. He was wearing a tuxedo. He looked devastating. He looked at me. For a second his mask slipped. His eyes widened. He didn't look at me like an employee. He looked at me like a man seeing a woman for the first time. Then the mask was back. Adequate, he said. He walked over and handed me a small black clutch purse. Your phone is in there. Encrypted. And a listening device. He held out his arm. Tonight we go to the opera. You are my date. He leaned in close. I could smell the sandalwood again. There is a man named Mr. Choi. He will be in the box next to us. He is planning to betray me. Junho's eyes bored into mine. I need you to get him alone. And I need you to find out when. I looked at the clutch purse. Then I looked at the mirror. The old Nia would have fainted. But the new Nia? The one who watched her husband fly off a roof? She smiled. Consider it done, boss. I took his arm. We walked out of the room, ready to set the city on fire. The Seoul Arts Center is a palace of glass and light. Tonight it was surrounded by sharks. Flashbulbs popped like lightning storms as the limousines pulled up. Paparazzi. Hundreds of them. Screaming names. Begging for a look. I sat in the back of the Rolls-Royce, gripping my small black clutch until my knuckles turned white. I can't do this, I whispered. Junho did not look at me. He was checking his cufflinks. Gold. Shaped like serpents. You can, he said calmly. You survived a roof in the rain. You survived a husband who wanted to break you. A red carpet is nothing compared to that. He turned to me. His eyes were dark, unreadable. Remember the story, Nia. You are Nia Davis. You are money. You are bored. You are untouchable. The car stopped. The driver opened the door. The noise hit us instantly. A wall of screaming voices. Mr. Kong. Over here. Who is she? Who is the girl? Junho stepped out first. He buttoned his jacket. He looked like a king surveying his subjects. Bored. Arrogant. He reached a hand back inside for me. Showtime, he murmured. I took his hand. I stepped out. The flashes blinded me. Pop, pop, pop. It was disorienting. But then I felt Junho's hand on the small of my back. It was warm. Firm. A silent anchor in the chaos. We walked the carpet. I didn't smile. I remembered what he said. You are bored. I lifted my chin. I looked through the cameras, not at them. I heard the whispers ripple through the crowd. Is that a model? Look at the dress. Look at the way she walks. They didn't see the waitress. They didn't see the trash bags. They saw the lie. And for the first time I realized something terrifying. I was good at lying. We reached the entrance. The heavy doors closed behind us, shutting out the noise. The lobby was quiet, smelling of lilies and old money. Junho leaned in close to my ear. To anyone watching it looked intimate. Romantic. Mr. Choi is in box 4, he whispered. We are in box 5. He squeezed my waist. Do not look at him yet. Let him look at you. We walked up the grand staircase. I felt eyes on me. Men in tuxedos. Women in diamonds. They were assessing me. Judging my worth. We entered our private box. It was draped in red velvet. We sat. Below us, the orchestra began to tune their instruments. The chaotic noise of violins and cellos finding their pitch. I glanced to the left. There was a man in the next box. He was older. Balding. Sweating despite the air conditioning. He was drinking champagne too fast. That is him? I asked softly. Yes, Junho said. Mr. Choi. He runs my shipping logistics at the Incheon port. He is nervous, I noted. He is guilty, Junho corrected. The lights dimmed. The curtain rose. The opera began. A woman in a white dress started to sing. Her voice was high, mournful. Junho stared at the stage, but his body was tense. Coiled. Go, he said. Now. He is drinking fast. That means his bladder is full. He will go to the restroom soon. Intercept him. I stood up. I smoothed my silk dress. I walked out of the box into the empty corridor. I waited. 2 minutes later, the door to box 4 opened. Mr. Choi stumbled out. He wiped sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. He walked toward the men's room. I followed. I didn't hide. I walked loudly. My heels clicked on the marble floor. Click, click, click. He turned around. He saw me. His eyes widened. He recognized me from the red carpet. The mystery woman on the Viper's arm. "Excuse me," I said. My voice was low, sultry. I pretended to stumble slightly, just a little wobble. Mr. Choi rushed forward, instinctively reaching out to steady me. "Miss, are you all right?" I looked up at him through my lashes. "Too much champagne," I lied. "And the music? It is so sad, isn't it?" He stared at me. He was mesmerized. Men like him were easy. They wanted to be heroes. "It is," he agreed. He didn't let go of my arm. You are with Kang Joon-ho?" I let out a sigh. A bored, frustrated sigh. "I am with him. But he is not with me. He is too busy watching the stage to notice his date." Mr. Choi laughed. A nervous, wet sound. "The Viper is a cold man. Everyone knows this." He leaned closer. He smelled of sour wine and fear. "A woman like you shouldn't be ignored." I stepped closer to him. I reached out and adjusted his crooked bow tie. "You are sweet," I said. My fingers brushed his lapel. I felt something hard in his inside pocket. A phone? No. Too thick. A recorder. "Why are you sweating, Mr. Choi?" I asked softly. He froze. "It is hot in here," he stammered. I moved my hand down to his chest. I could feel his heart hammering. "You are terrified," I whispered. "Who are you meeting tonight?" He pulled back, his eyes narrowing. "Who are you?" He hissed. "I am the woman who is going to save your life," I said. "If you tell me the truth." I leaned into his ear. "Joon-ho knows you are stealing. He is going to kill you after the second act. Unless I stop him." It was a gamble. A lie built on a guess. Mr. Choi turned pale. "He knows?" I nodded. "He has a sniper in the rafters." Mr. Choi began to shake. I didn't have a choice. The Triads. They forced me. They said they would burn my warehouse. The Triads. My earpiece crackled. It was Joon-ho's voice. "Nia, get out of there. Now." I ignored him. "When?" I asked Choi. "When are the Triads coming?" "Tonight." Choi squealed. "During the crescendo. They are hitting the box. They want Joon-ho dead." My blood turned to ice. Not a betrayal. An assassination. "Thank you," I said. I stepped back. "Where are you going?" Choi begged. "You said you would save me." I looked at him. I lied. I turned and ran. I ran back down the corridor. My heels slipped on the marble. "Joon-ho!" I screamed into the earpiece. "It's a trap. Get out." But all I heard was static. I burst into box 5. Joon-ho was still sitting there, calm, watching the opera singer hit a high note. "Joon-ho!" He turned. At that exact moment, the glass front of the private box shattered. Crash. It wasn't a high note. It was a bullet. Joon-ho moved faster than humanly possible. He didn't duck. He launched himself at me. He tackled me to the ground. His heavy body slammed into mine, pinning me to the red carpet. Above us, bullets chewed into the velvet chairs. Thwip, thwip, thwip. Would splinters rain down on my hair? "Stay down," he roared. He pulled his gun, the silver pistol from the penthouse. He rolled off me, firing blindly over the edge of the balcony. Bang, bang. The opera erupted into chaos. Screams. People trampling each other to get to the exits. The music stopped, replaced by the deafening echo of gunfire. "They are in the rafters," I screamed, crawling toward him. Joon-ho looked at me. His face was cut by flying glass. He was bleeding from his cheek. He looked alive. His eyes were wild, ferocious. "Can you run?" he yelled. "Yes." He grabbed my hand. "Then run." We scrambled out of the box into the corridor. 3 men were running toward us. They wore black masks. They held submachine guns. Joon-ho didn't hesitate. He raised his pistol. Bang, bang, bang. 3 shots. 2 men dropped. The 3rd man sprayed bullets at us. I felt the wind of them passing my ear. Joon-ho shoved me into an alcove. He leaned out and fired again. The 3rd man fell. "Reloading," Joon-ho shouted. He ejected the magazine and slammed a new one in. His hands were steady. "We have to go down," I yelled. "The lobby." "No. The lobby is a kill zone." They will be waiting at the doors. Where then? The roof. The roof. I screamed. Are you crazy? He looked at me and grinned. A blood-stained, terrifying grin. Probably. He grabbed my hand again. We ran. We sprinted up the service stairs. My lungs burned. My feet were agony in the heels. I stopped. I kicked them off. I ran barefoot on the cold concrete. We burst onto the roof. The night air was cold. The wind whipped my hair into my face. We were 6 stories up. The city lights spread out around us, indifferent to the violence below. There is no way down. I yelled over the wind. Junho ran to the edge. He looked over. There. He pointed. 10 feet below us, there was a construction scaffolding attached to the neighboring building. Jump? I asked, my voice trembling. If we stay, we die, he said. The door behind us burst open. More men. Junho fired 2 shots to keep them back. Jump, Nia. I looked at the gap. It was dark. It was far. But I remembered the alley. I remembered the choice I made. I didn't think. I leaped. For a second I was flying. Then I hit the metal grating of the scaffolding. The impact knocked the wind out of me. I rolled, scraping my bare arms on the rust. I looked up. Junho jumped. He landed beside me with a heavy thud. He groaned. You okay? I gasped. He nodded, grimacing. He stood up and pulled me to my feet. Go. Down the ladder. We scrambled down the scaffolding. The metal was slippery with dew. We reached the alley below. Dark. Smelly. Safe. A black sedan screeched around the corner. I flinched, expecting more gunmen. But the window rolled down. It was the man with the scar. The head of security. Get in. He yelled. We dove into the back seat. The car peeled out before I even got the door closed. For 10 minutes nobody spoke. The only sound was the heavy breathing of 3 people who had just cheated death. I slumped against the leather seat. My dress was torn. My feet were bleeding. My hair was a mess. I looked at Junho. He was wiping the blood off his cheek with a silk handkerchief. He looked at his tuxedo. It was ruined. He started to laugh. It started as a chuckle deep in his chest. Then it grew. He laughed harder. He threw his head back and laughed until he was wheezing. I stared at him. What is funny? I demanded. We almost died. He looked at me. His eyes were bright. Did you see Choi's face? He gasped. Did you see him run? I started to giggle. It was hysteria. Pure, adrenaline-fueled hysteria. He tried to hide under the sink. I laughed. We both laughed. We laughed until tears ran down our faces. We laughed because we were alive. Then the laughter faded. Junho looked at me. Really looked at me. He reached out and took my hand. His grip was gentle. You did good, Nia. I looked down at our joined hands. You got the intel, he said. You warned me. If you hadn't screamed, that bullet would have gone through my head. I saved you, I whispered. He nodded slowly. You saved me. He leaned back, closing his eyes. He didn't let go of my hand. Where are we going? I asked. Not the penthouse? No, he said without opening his eyes. The penthouse is compromised. If Choi talked, they know everything. We are going to the safe house. In the mountains. He squeezed my hand. Sleep, Nia. You are safe now. I leaned my head against the cool window. Safe. I was in a car with a mafia boss covered in blood running from the triads. And yet, I felt safer than I ever had with Marcus. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in years I slept without dreaming. I woke up when the car stopped. It was pitch black outside. No city lights. Just trees. We are here, the driver said. I stepped out. The air smelled of pine and snow. It was freezing. In front of us stood a house made entirely of glass and concrete. It was modern, sharp, hidden deep in the forest. Junho led me inside. The interior was stark. Minimalist. A fire was already crackling in the massive stone fireplace. There were no servants here. No guards. Just us. Junho walked to the kitchen. He opened a bottle of wine. He poured 2 glasses. He came into the living room and handed me one. To survival, he said. To survival. I took a sip. It was rich, heavy red wine. I walked to the fire, warming my frozen hands. So I said, What happens now? Junho sat on the white sofa. He loosened his tie. He unbuttoned his collar. Now we wait. My men will hunt down the triads. They will find Choi. They will clean up the mess. And us, we stay here. Until it is done. How long? A few days. Maybe a week. A week. Alone. With him. I turned to face him. Why did they attack you? I asked. Junho looked into the fire. Because I am expanding. I am taking their territory in the port. They are scared. He looked at me. Power is a constant war, Nia. You win or you die. There is no middle ground. Like my marriage, I said softly. He paused. Yes. Like your marriage. He stood up and walked to me. He stood behind me. I could feel the heat radiating off him. He reached out and touched the bare skin of my back, where the dress dipped low. His fingers were cold, but they burned my skin. You were brave tonight, he whispered. I had to be. No. You didn't. You could have run. You could have left me in that box to die. He stepped closer. His chest brushed against my back. Why didn't you? I turned around to face him. We were inches apart. I could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. I could see the small cut on his cheekbone. Because I whispered. You gave me a life. I couldn't let them take yours. He stared at my lips. I stared at his. The air in the room changed. It wasn't fear anymore. It wasn't adrenaline. It was hunger. Junho raised his hand. He cupped my face. His thumb traced my lower lip. You are dangerous, Nia Davis, he murmured. So are you, Kang Junho. He lowered his head. Our lips met. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was desperate. It tasted of wine and blood and survival. He pulled me closer, his arm wrapping around my waist, crushing me against him. I wrapped my arms around his neck, tangling my fingers in his hair. For a moment, the world outside didn't exist. The triads didn't exist. The debt didn't exist. There was only the fire. And the devil. And I was burning. The morning sun didn't feel warm. It felt exposing. I woke up alone in the massive master bed. The sheets still smelled like him. Sandalwood and wine. I rolled over, my body aching from the run, the jump, and the night. Junho was gone. I sat up, wrapping the silk sheet around me. Panic flared in my chest for a second. Had he left? Had he realized that sleeping with the hired help was a mistake? Then I heard it. The sound of a knife hitting a cutting board. Chop. 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 I walked out into the living room. Junho was in the kitchen. He was wearing gray sweatpants and a white t-shirt. He looked normal. He was cutting fruit. Good morning, he said without turning around. Good morning, I whispered. He turned. His eyes swept over me, lingering on the sheet wrapped around my body. A small, possessive smile touched his lips. Coffee is ready. I walked to the counter. I took the mug he offered. Our fingers brushed. The electricity was still there, humming under the surface. About last night. I started. You don't need to apologize, he interrupted. I wasn't going to. He chuckled. He leaned against the counter, crossing his arms. Good. Because I am not sorry. He looked out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the dense forest surrounding us. It is quiet here, he said. Too quiet. You are worried? I am always worried. That is why I am still alive. He walked to the window. He placed his hand on the glass. Mr. Han, my head of security, he checked in an hour ago. He said the triads have gone underground. They are not claiming the attack. What does that mean? It means they are scared. Or, it means they are planning something bigger. He turned back to me. His face was serious again. The lover was gone. The viper was back. Get dressed, Nia. There are clothes in the closet. We need to be ready to move. Move. I thought we were safe for a week. He shook his head. In my world, safety is a myth. It is just a pause between bullets. I went back to the bedroom. I found a closet full of clothes. Not silk dresses this time. Tactical gear. Cargo pants. Boots. Heavy jackets. This wasn't a vacation home. It was a bunker. I put on the clothes. They fit perfectly. Of course they did. He knew everything. I looked in the mirror. I didn't look like a rich investor anymore. I looked like a soldier. I walked back out. Junho was on the phone. He was speaking Korean, his voice fast and angry. No, I did not authorize that. Find him. Now. He hung up. He looked pale. What is it? I asked. He looked at me. Mr. Han is not answering. My stomach dropped. The man with the scar. The one who drove us here. Maybe he is busy? Junho shook his head. He is never busy. He answers on the first ring. Always. He walked to the table and picked up a gun. Not a pistol this time. An assault rifle. He checked the magazine. Something is wrong. And then we heard it. Not a gunshot. Not a siren. A drone. A low, buzzing sound like an angry hornet. Junho looked up. Through the glass ceiling. A small black drone was hovering above the house. Get down. He screamed. He didn't wait. He tackled me again, throwing us behind the kitchen island. Boom. The glass ceiling exploded. The explosion was deafening. Shards of glass rained down like jagged hail. The shockwave rattled my teeth. Dust filled the air, choking me. I coughed, covering my head with my arms. Junho was on top of me, shielding me from the debris. Move. He roared. He dragged me up. The house was open to the sky. The winter air rushed in, freezing cold. Through the broken ceiling, I saw them. Men rappelling down ropes from the trees. Black uniforms. Red armbands. Triads. They crashed through the remaining glass, landing in the living room. Junho raised his rifle. Tut-tut-tut-tut. He fired 3 bursts. 2 men dropped. But more were coming. They were swarming the house like ants. The bedroom. Junho yelled. We ran. Bullets chewed up the floorboards behind us. Splinters exploded against my legs. We dove into the bedroom, and Junho kicked the door shut. He dragged a heavy dresser in front of it. It won't hold them. I screamed. I know. He ran to the closet. He kicked the back panel. It was hollow. It cracked open. He slammed the truck into gear. The garage door opened. We sped out into the forest road. But we weren't clear yet. A black SUV blocked the road ahead. Triads. They were waiting. Hold on. Junho yelled. He didn't brake. He floored it. The pickup truck surged forward. The men by the SUV raised their guns. Ping, ping, ping. Bullets hit the windshield. Spiderwebs of cracked glass obscured our vision. Junho didn't flinch. He aimed the truck right at the SUV. I screamed. Crash. Metal screamed as we rammed the SUV aside. The impact threw me against the dashboard. My head slammed into the plastic. Stars exploded in my eyes. But we were through. We were driving fast, tearing down the mountain road. Junho looked at me. Blood was running down his forehead. Nia? Are you okay? I touched my forehead. My hand came away red. I think so, I groaned. Check the glove box, he said. There is a first aid kit. And a grenade. A what? Just check. I opened the glove box. Bandages. Tape. And yes, a grenade. I laughed. A manic, terrified sound. You keep a grenade in your getaway truck? I like to be prepared, he grunted. He looked in the rearview mirror. Don't celebrate yet. We have company. I looked back. 3 black SUVs were chasing us. And they were faster than the truck. They are gaining on us. I yelled. Junho swerved the truck, dodging a hail of bullets. Take the wheel. He shouted. What? Take the wheel. He let go of the steering wheel. I grabbed it. The truck lurched. I corrected it, fighting the heavy suspension. Keep it steady, he ordered. He rolled down his window. The freezing wind whipped into the cab. He picked up the assault rifle. He leaned out of the moving truck. He fired back. Tat. The windshield of the lead SUV shattered. The car swerved violently, crashing into a tree. 1 down. I screamed. 2 left. Junho climbed back in. He was reloading. But the second SUV was right on our bumper. Bump. They rammed us. The truck fishtailed. We were sliding toward the cliff edge. Steer into the skid. Junho yelled. I spun the wheel. The tires caught the gravel. We straightened out. Junho looked at the grenade in my lap. Give me that. I handed it to him. He pulled the pin with his teeth. Just like in the movies. Slow down, he said. Are you crazy? Slow down. Let them get close. I hit the brakes. The second SUV rushed up behind us, thinking we were surrendering. Junho threw the grenade out the window. It bounced on the asphalt, right under the SUV. Accelerate. Now. I stomped on the gas. Boom. The explosion rocked the truck. I looked in the mirror. The SUV was a ball of fire, flipping into the air. 2 down. But the third SUV, it wasn't attacking. It hung back. Why aren't they shooting? I asked. Junho watched them in the mirror. His eyes narrowed. Because they aren't trying to kill us anymore. They are hurting us. Hurting us where? He looked at the GPS on the dashboard. Oh no. What? The bridge is out ahead. It's a dead end. He looked at me. Nia, we have to bail. Bail. At 60 miles an hour? If we stop, they box us in. We have to jump. Into the woods. He looked at the dense forest rushing by on the right side. On my mark, I steer into the ditch. You open the door and roll. Tuck your head. I can't. I cried. You can. You survived the roof. You survived the opera. You are the Viper's woman. You do not die today. He grabbed my hand for a second. I promise. I will find you. He spun the wheel. The truck veered off the road. Now. I kicked the door open. I jumped. The ground hit me hard. Cold. Vet. Pain. I rolled. I tumbled through snow and dead leaves. Branches whipped my face. I finally came to a stop against a tree trunk. I lay there, gasping for air. Every inch of my body hurt. I heard the truck crash into a tree further down. I heard the SUV screech to a halt on the road. I heard doors opening. Voices. Search the woods. Find them. Bring me his head. I scrambled up. Juno. I whispered. I looked around. He was 20 feet away. He was trying to stand up. But he wasn't moving right. He was dragging his leg. I ran to him. Juno. He looked at me. His face was gray. He looked down at his leg. A shard of metal from the truck door was embedded in his thigh. Blood was soaking his tactical pants. Dark. Heavy. Leave me, he wheezed. No, I said. Nia. I can't run. Go. No. I grabbed his arm. I pulled it over my shoulder. He was heavy. Dead weight. But I remembered the trash bags. I remembered carrying 50 pounds of garbage every night for 3 years. I wasn't weak. I was strong. Walk, I ordered him. He looked at me, surprised by the steel in my voice. I hauled him up. We limped into the deep woods. We walked for an hour. Every step was agony for him. I could feel his tremors against my side. He was losing blood fast. The snow was getting heavier. It was covering our tracks, which was good. But it was freezing us to death, which was bad. We need shelter, I said through chattering teeth. There, Junho whispered. He pointed to a rocky overhang. A small, shallow cave protected from the wind. We collapsed inside. The ground was dry dirt. It was cold, but out of the snow. Junho leaned back against the rock wall. His eyes were fluttering shut. Stay with me, I said, slapping his cheek lightly. Hey, stay with me. He opened his eyes. They were hazy. Cold, he mumbled. I looked at his leg. The metal shard was deep. I have to take it out, I said. He nodded weakly. Do it. I took off my belt. I wrapped it around his thigh, above the wound. A tourniquet. I tightened it until he groaned. This is going to hurt, I said. Do it, he gritted out. I grabbed the metal. My hands were slippery with his blood. I pulled. He screamed. A raw, animal sound that echoed in the cave. The metal slid out. Blood gushed, then slowed as the tourniquet held. I ripped the sleeve off my jacket. I packed the wound tight. I wrapped it with the duct tape from the first aid kit he had grabbed. He passed out from the pain. Juno. Silence. I checked his pulse. It was weak. Thready. I was alone. In the woods. With a dying mafia boss. I sat back, shivering. I looked at him. The most powerful man in Seoul. Now he was just a man. Broken. Bleeding. I crawled closer to him. I unzipped my jacket and opened his. I pressed my body against his, sharing what little heat I had. I wrapped my arms around him. You don't get to die, I whispered into his neck. You owe me a life. Remember? I closed my eyes. And then I heard it. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Footsteps in the snow. They were close. I froze. I looked at Junho's gun. It was lying in the dirt next to him. I picked it up. It was heavy, cold. I checked the chamber. 1 bullet. 1. I looked at the cave entrance. A shadow fell across the snow. A man stepped into view. It wasn't a triad soldier. It was Mr. Han, the head of security, the traitor. He was holding a pistol. He looked immaculate in his suit, seemingly untouched by the chaos. He saw us. He smiled. A sad, pitying smile. Found you, he said softly. I raised the gun. My hand didn't shake this time. Step back, I warned. He laughed. You have 1 bullet, Nia. And there are 10 men behind me. It is over. He took a step closer. Give me the Viper. And I will let you walk away. You can go to Atlanta. You can be free. I looked at Junho, unconscious in my arms. Then I looked at Han. I cocked the hammer of the gun. Click. I made a deal with the devil, I said, my voice echoing in the cave. I aimed right between his eyes. And I don't break contracts. The cave was silent. The only sound was the wind howling outside, and the ragged breathing of the man bleeding out in my arms. Mr. Han stood 10 feet away. The traitor. The man who had driven us to safety, only to sell us to the wolves. He looked at the gun in my hand. He looked at my shaking finger on the trigger. And he smiled. He didn't believe me. Why would he? I was a waitress. I was a nobody. Nobodies don't shoot head of security officers. Nia, he said, his voice dripping with false sympathy. Put it down. You are shaking. You will miss. And then my men will storm this cave, and they will not be gentle. He took another step. The snow crunched under his expensive Italian leather shoes. Think about Atlanta, he cooed. Think about your brother. If you walk away now, I will give you a ticket. First class. You can disappear. It was a tempting lie. For a second I saw it. The plane. The escape. The safety. But then I felt Junho shiver against me. I felt the heat of his blood soaking into my jacket. I remembered what Junho said. Safety is a myth. It is just a pause between bullets. If I left him, he died. If he died, the Viper was gone. And if the Viper was gone, nobody would protect me from the darkness. I didn't want a ticket to Atlanta. I wanted the man who burned the world for me. I looked at Han. I am not shaking because I am scared, Mr. Han, I whispered. He paused. Why are you shaking then? I am shaking because I have never killed a man before. I took a breath. Cold air filled my lungs. But I learned fast. Han's eyes widened. He saw the change in my face. He raised his own gun. Bang! The sound was deafening in the small cave. My ears rang. The recoil kicked my arm back, jarring my shoulder. I didn't close my eyes. I watched the hole appear in Mr. Han's chest. A bloom of red on his white shirt. He looked down at it, surprised. He looked back at me. He opened his mouth to speak, but only blood came out. He fell forward into the snow. Face down. Dead. I sat there frozen. The gun was smoking in my hand. I had done it. I had crossed the line. There was no going back to the jazz bar now. Then the radio on Han's belt crackled. Han. Report. We heard a shot. Do you have the Viper? The triads. They were coming. I scrambled out from under Junho. I crawled to Han's body. I didn't look at his face. I couldn't. I grabbed his gun. It was fully loaded. I grabbed the spare magazines from his belt. I grabbed the radio. I crawled back to Junho. He was conscious. Barely. His eyes were open, glassy and unfocused. Nia? He rasped. I killed him, I said. My voice sounded hollow. Junho looked at the body in the snow. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Good girl. He tried to sit up, but groaned and fell back. Take my phone, he whispered. Your phone? The pickup truck. Destroyed it. But Han, check his pocket. I ran back to the body. I found a satellite phone in his inside jacket pocket. I brought it to Junho. He punched in a number with trembling fingers. It rang once. This is the ghost team. Identify. The voice on the other end was robotic. Cold. Code red. Junho wheezed. Location. North Mountain. Sector 4. Code confirmed. ETA 10 minutes. Junho dropped the phone. 10 minutes, he whispered. He looked at me. Can you hold them for 10 minutes? I looked at the guns. I looked at the cave entrance. I looked at the 10 men coming through the woods. I racked the slide of Han's gun. I checked the magazine of the Viper's gun. I crawled to the entrance. I used a rock as cover. I am not a waitress anymore, I said. I aimed at the tree line. I am the Viper's keeper. And I pulled the trigger. The next 10 minutes were a blur of noise and terror. They didn't rush us all at once. They were cautious. They didn't know Han was dead yet. They thought the Viper was shooting back. Bullets chipped the rock around my head. Stone fragments cut my cheek. Stay down. I screamed at myself. I fired blindly into the woods. Pop, pop, pop. I wasn't trying to hit them. I was trying to make them keep their heads down. Reloading. I yelled, though nobody was listening. My hands fumbled with the magazine. I dropped one in the dirt. I cursed. I shoved the second one in. A man ran from behind a tree, trying to flank us. I saw him. I didn't think. I swung the gun. I fired. He dropped. I didn't feel sick this time. I felt cold. Efficient. 5 minutes passed. My ammo was running low. Junho was silent behind me. Too silent. Juno. I called out. No answer. I looked back. His eyes were closed. His skin was the color of the snow. Juno. Wake up. He didn't move. Panic clawed at my throat. If he died, this was all for nothing. Surrender. A voice yelled from the woods. Throw out the girl, and we will make it quick. I laughed. A bitter, broken sound. Come and get me. I screamed back. I fired my last magazine. Click. Empty. I grabbed the Viper's gun. 1 bullet left. Just one. I looked at the woods. Shadows were moving closer. They knew I was out of ammo. They were getting brave. I looked at Junho. I pointed the gun at the cave entrance. If they come in, I thought. I take one with me. And then a sound. A low thumping sound. Rhythm. Thwop. 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 It got louder. The snow on the trees began to dance. A black shadow rose over the tree line. A helicopter. It wasn't a news chopper. It was military grade. Matte black. No markings. A side door slid open. A minigun spun up. The sound was like a chainsaw tearing through the sky. The woods exploded. Trees shattered. Snow turned to steam. The triads didn't even have time to scream. The ghost team rained fire down on them. The helicopter hovered low. A rope dropped. Men in full tactical gear slid down. Fast. Professional. They secured the perimeter in seconds. One of them ran to the cave. He saw me holding the gun. He didn't aim at me. He raised his hand. Mrs. Kong? He asked. I blinked. Mrs. Kong? Secure the VIP. He yelled. 2 medics rushed past me. They grabbed Junho. They checked his pulse. He is critical. Move him. They lifted him onto a stretcher. They ran to the hoist. The soldier looked at me. Can you walk, ma'am? I tried to stand. My legs gave out. He caught me. I've got you, he said. He hooked me to the harness. We lifted off. I looked down as we rose into the air. I saw the burning truck. I saw the body of Mr. Han. I saw the blood in the snow. I closed my eyes. The waitress died in that cave. I didn't know who was coming back down. Hospitals usually smell like antiseptic. This one smelled like lilies. I opened my eyes. The ceiling was white. The sheets were high thread count cotton. I wasn't in a ward. I was in a private suite. I sat up. My body screamed in protest. Every muscle was stiff. My shoulder was bandaged. My face had stitches. I looked around. Security guards were outside the glass door. Standing attention. I wasn't a patient. I was a prisoner. Or a princess. In Junho's world, there was no difference. The door opened. A doctor walked in. He looked terrified. Ms. Nia, he said, bowing low. You are awake. Where is he? I rasped. My throat felt like I had swallowed glass. Mr. Kong is in the ICU, the doctor said. He underwent surgery for the leg wound. And blood loss. Is he? He is stable. He woke up an hour ago. Take me to him. You need to rest, the doctor protested. You have a concussion. You have. Take me to him. I swung my legs out of bed. The room spun. I gritted my teeth. The doctor saw the look in my eyes. The same look I gave Mr. Han before I pulled the trigger. He nodded quickly. Right this way. He led me down the hall. The entire wing was locked down. Guards everywhere. They all bowed when I passed. Mrs. Kong. Mrs. Kong. Mrs. Kong. The rumor had spread. I was the woman who saved the Viper. I was the woman who held the cave. We reached the ICU. I walked in. Junho was lying in the bed. He looked pale, hooked up to a dozen machines. But his eyes were open. They were dark, sharp, alive. He watched me walk in. He dismissed the nurses with a flick of his hand. We were alone. I walked to the side of the bed. I grabbed the railing to steady myself. You look terrible, he whispered. You look worse, I shot back. He smiled. It reached his eyes this time. Hun? He asked. Dead. The triads? Liquidated. The ghost team wiped them out. And their boss, Mr. Choi, fell out of a window an hour ago. He reached out his hand. It was weak, shaking. I took it. You saved me, Nia, he said softly. You actually saved me. I told you, I said. I don't break contracts. He squeezed my hand. The contract is done. I froze. What? The debt is paid, he said. Marcus is dead. The triads are dead. You saved my life. We are even. He let go of my hand. There is a bag in the closet. It has $5 million in it. And a passport. New identity. He looked away, staring at the heart monitor. You can go, Nia. You are free. I stared at him. $5 million. Freedom. No more bullets. No more cold caves. I walked to the closet. I opened it. The bag was there. Heavy. Black. I picked it up. I looked at the door. The guards would let me pass. I could walk out, take a taxi to the airport, and vanish. I could live on a beach in Italy. I could buy a vineyard. I looked back at Junho. He was watching me. His face was a mask of indifference, but his eyes were pleading. He was waiting for me to leave. He expected everyone to leave. I walked back to the bed. I lifted the heavy bag. And I dropped it on the floor. Thud. Juno blinked. You forgot something, I said. What? You said safety is a myth. You said it's just a pause between bullets. I sat down on the edge of his bed. If I take that money and leave, I am just a rich victim waiting for the next wolf. I am alone. I leaned in close. But here? With you? I am the wolf. Junho stared at me. Nia. Do you know what you are saying? If you stay, there is no exit. You are in the game forever. I know. Why? He whispered. Why stay in hell? Because I said, brushing the hair off his forehead. The devil owes me a favor. He laughed. A wheezing, painful sound. What is the favor this time? Another husband to kill? No, I said. I took his hand again. I placed it over my heart. I want a ring. Chapter 18. The Devil's Bride. 2 weeks later. The rain in Seoul still didn't wash things clean. But from the top floor of the newly rebuilt Club Eden, the rain looked beautiful. Like diamonds falling from the sky. I stood by the window. I wasn't wearing an apron. I wasn't wearing a borrowed robe. I was wearing white. A silk suit. Tailored. Sharp. Deadly. The door opened. Juno walked in. He was using a cane, a sleek black stick with a silver cobra head. His limp was slight, but it was there. A reminder of the woods. He walked to me. He stood beside me, looking out at the city he owned. They are waiting, he said. Who? Everyone. The clan leaders. The politicians. The police chiefs. He turned to me. They are waiting to meet the new partner. He reached into his pocket. He pulled out a ring. It wasn't a diamond. It was a black opal, swirling with fire and darkness. Set in platinum. He took my left hand. He slid the ring over my bruised knuckle. It fit perfectly. You realize, he said, his voice low and serious, that they will test you. They will try to break you. They will look at you and see a waitress. I looked at the ring. Then I looked at my reflection in the glass. I didn't see a waitress. Let them look, I said. I turned to Junho. Let them see the woman who walked into the fire and dragged the devil out. He smiled. He kissed my hand. Ready, Mrs. Kong? I took his arm. I felt the muscle, the heat, the power. Ready. We walked toward the double doors. The guards bowed low. The doors opened. The music hit us. The lights hit us. The world was watching. I didn't flinch. I didn't look down. I walked into the light, holding the hand of the monster I loved. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving. I was ruling.